welcome to another episode of Street Smart University's Peak Performance Masterclass. Today we are really delighted to have with us Miss Lynn Tan. Lynn is a professional certified coach with the International Coach Federation, and she has clocked over 2,700 hours of direct coaching with managers, entrepreneurs, and high-level executives. She has co-authored 2 books, and is a student of the father of guerrilla marketing, J. Conrad Levinson. And she's one of 6 master trainers in the world and the only female master trainer. So, Lynn, thank you for coming down to spend time with us and doing this interview.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So you have achieved stellar success in the field of training and coaching. So, why are you so passionate about coaching? What was it that motivated you to select coaching as a career?
It was completely by accident. I actually graduated with a diploma in fashion design, and that was my interest at the point of time. And when I graduated, I was interested in starting my own business. But somehow, after a few months of trying, I realized that I kept procrastinating. I think that's a common problem that a lot of people face, and I just could not get the business up. And I tried to, I was brainstorming, I was trying to ask myself why, and I couldn't find any answers. And so happened that my sister had hired a coach, just a couple of months ago, and she introduced coaching to me. And when I sat down and I spoke to the coach, I realized that, what was really happening was that I was kind of hitting my own invisible ceiling. Kind of like you keep hitting the wall, but you don't know what wall you're hitting, you don't know why it's there, you don't know what to do with it because you can't even see it in the first place. And that really is our own personal limitations, and I couldn't figure it out. So that was when I hired a coach to work with me, and I had a lot of realizations about my weaknesses, my lack of confidence, and it went really deep. It was a very deep, profound experience. And after the entire experience, I realized that, coaching is something I've been looking for, because ever since I was young, I like to work with, I like to help friends. And I realized that helping people, my helping people wasn't very effective, because most of the time you always end up advising them, which they won't take the advice because, you are not in their experience. And I tried a lot of ways, and I wasn't very successful. And when I saw what coaching did, I realized that that's probably gonna be one of the best skills to learn, because it's highly applicable not only in a profession, but in everything else, in your relationships, in your work, in businesses. And that was when I started my career as coach, and that was 10 years ago.
So you've been doing this for quite a long time now.
Yes.
What were some of the setbacks and maybe some of the obstacles that you faced during your early days as a coach, or even now?
Okay, well, you see, I've been in this for 10 years, and up to now, there are still things that come up that stop me. So recently I applied for my Master Coach certification, and that's one of the highest ranks in the coaching world. And most of the Master Coaches out there are 50 or 60 or maybe 40, the youngest that you can get is probably about 40. And as part of the application, I needed to go and find other Master Certified coaches around the world, because Singapore only has one other coach. And I couldn't get to him. So I had to go and ask other coaches around the world to write me, I need to send them my recording, and they need to write me a letter of recommendation. So there was this coach who wrote back to me, and he said, okay, well, I have some time, so why not you send me a recording and I'll listen and I'll write a letter to you, for you. So I did. And then the next reply I got 5 minutes later was, he said, I'm sorry, Lynn, but I can't approve of a Master Certified coach who is only 28 years old.
Wow, that must have been something that's quite hard to overcome then.
Yeah, because unfortunately in the coaching world, and this whole self-development scene, the older you are, the more successful you are. The more white hair you have, the better you are. And that's just the perception that people have. And that's something that I've been battling since I started as a young coach, and all the way up to now. That's still a perception that kind of works against me.
So age discrimination is a really big thing in the personal coaching industry, you would say?
Yeah. Yes.
So, okay, can you name a person who has had a tremendous impact on you? Maybe a mentor or a friend?
Well, I've had 3 mentors up to this point of time in my journey. The first one, he is the coach who worked with me when I was 19 and I was, struggling with what am I going to do for the rest of my life, how do I get past this block to set up my own business. And his name is Mr. Kelvin Lim. He's also a Master Certified Coach. And he's a very interesting character. And he's somebody who really challenged me out of the belief that I can be more than who I think I am. So, for example, for a period of time, he was training me in how to train, how to present in front of a group of people, a large audience, of which most of them are, much older than me. And I would throw him all sorts of excuses and justifications, and I'll whine, and I'll say I'm not up to it, I don't think I can do it, and everything I have in my repertoire of excuses, I would throw at him. And he would just look at me and he would say, I don't care. And he never gave in to my BS. And that really pushed me to go further than I ever thought I would. And he's definitely somebody who has had a huge impact on my life. The second person is Jay himself, the father of guerrilla marketing. And it was a pleasure to learn under him for a few days. And he is somebody who's very opportunistic. The whole history of guerrilla marketing and how it even came about in the first place was that he saw a gap when US went into recession, and that was when he grabbed the opportunity, and that's how he introduced guerrilla marketing and how it was born. And up until now, he's in his 80s, and I asked him once over dinner. I said, "So, what are you gonna do, over the holidays?" And he said, "Oh, every time I can make it, I will go to the nearest mountain and I'll ski." And he's 80, like 80 something years old. And he would still do whatever that he can. And he taught me to really just go out there and live life. Life is an opportunity every day. When something goes up, there's a down. When something goes down, there's an up. And you can always ride on these waves and kind of live life that way. And that was what he showed me. The third mentor, his name is Arnold Mindell. He's an amazing person. He's extremely intelligent, and he's the founder of process-oriented psychology. And he's extremely compassionate as a person. So when I was working with him and he was working with a group of us through some group issues that we were having, I found it really hard for me to vocalize certain things that I was feeling to this group. And all he needed to do was to stand next to me, and he put his arm around my shoulder and he said, "It's okay." And that was when I felt this immense wave of compassion and just a space that he allowed for me to kind of discover what I need to discover. And I call that compassion. And that was another huge impact that taught me that was what I need to bring into my relationships. And especially as a coach, as a mentor, as a leader, this is what makes a difference when you interact with them. So these 3 mentors have played a big part in my life, and they still do from time to time. Yeah.
So on the subject of mentors, so many people believe that to be successful, you should model the correct person or the correct mentor. What are your thoughts on this, and what are the key skills for people to be successful, whether is it as an entrepreneur or as a professional?
A lot of people use modeling as a way to kind of get themselves onto the path of success. Like they look at an idol, they like what the idol represents, and they try to emulate. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there are some schools of thought which have kind of skewed it in the wrong direction, and they say, oh, if you want to be successful as a person, you have to model your idol. You need to do what they do, you need to do it the way that they do it, and which is why self-help books are so popular, because all these are just books of that person's unique formula. But whatever worked for, Covey might not work for you, right? And whatever works for this other person, Steve Jobs might not work for you as well. So I think what's really important is you can still have your idols and still observe them and find out what works for them. But the key when it comes to building your own success is to understand what your formula is. And the starting point of that is understanding what your values are. Because if you're not in touch with your values, if you're not in touch with what's important to you, then you're always going to take what other people say is important to you, and you're going to try it, and you're just going to fail because it's just not yours. It's just not yours. So personal values are the most important thing, and it's what I found to be the key to bring people to at least start them on their path of success. And then from there, it's up to them to fine-tune it.
And when you talk about values, I understand that your work as a coach with Reese Asia involves profiling people and for them to really discover what drives them. So perhaps could you tell us a little bit more of your work in this field?
I came across the Reese Motivation Profile, and I would say it's a key breakthrough in human motivation that recently came out by Stephen Reese. And what he did was he did a scientifically based survey. Okay, and there are certain ways for them to do that, where he interviewed thousands of people around the world, and he asked them a very basic question: what do you like? What drives you? Very open-ended question, and he watered all the answers down into, using scientific methods, into just simply 16 universal core desires. So both of us have 16 similar values, but what is important to you may not be important to me. So for example, one of the values is idealism. Idealism is the desire to improve society, is the desire for social justice. I might feel that, you may not feel that, or vice versa. So what this whole technology does is that it allows a person to understand their 16 core desires and where they're benchmarked on the world norm, and where they are abnormally highly driven. So if you're highly driven by power, which is the desire to influence, then that is your value. That is where you find fulfillment. That's where you find meaning. And it's also where your inclination lies. Because if the value for power, desire for power, has driven you all these years, unconsciously, you would have already built up certain skills and certain abilities in the area. So it is your inclination and it is your strength. It is also your weakness, but it is that thing that you can count on for you to find meaningful to you. And so when we work with our clients to help them understand what motivates them, what makes them happy and what makes them fulfilled, is to help them map out their motivation construct. And most of the time, when they're able to see what really truly drives them, it's very simple. You don't need to guess. It automatically resonates with them, and all they need to do now is ask themselves, how can I create a life that is in alignment with my values? And you will never not be unhappy, because this is what Stephen Reese calls value-based happiness. It's not temporal happiness. So yeah, that's how we work with them.
But some of our viewers may have spent, I think, thousands of dollars on personal development seminars and books. So from what I'm hearing from you, what they should really be doing is to really look deep within rather than look externally for what these successful people say is the way to be successful. But we should really look deep into ourselves for what we really desire and what we really want.
Yes, exactly. You summed it up pretty well.